we got to dress up in our Halloween costumes at work the other day, and one of my coworkers walks up to me and she's got like flowers. She's in all white dress and flowers in her hair. And I, of course, say, that's a oh, I see, you're Florence Pugh in Midsommar.
Hmm.
She then proceeded to reveal that she is not Florence Pugh in Midsommar. She is revered and highly important influential artist Frida Kahlo.
Damn, Tommy, how does it feel to be so humiliated?
No, I immediately buried my head in the dirt. It was not my finest moment.
I would have guessed quintessential quintuplets and immediately lost my job.
Does one of them have flowers in their hair?
Yeah.
Oh. All right. Well.
So
okay,
see, Tommy,
always
could always be worse.
Well, you always deny, David, that show is about incest, and now here you are saying you'd lose your job about it. So.
Well, no, you just if somebody, I'm sure like the boss or somebody would Google it and see like the first images and be like, he's fired, he's out of here.
Man, no. Do you think I'd get fired if someone Googled Midsommar? Because it's pretty messed up.
No, that's like the image of SpongeBob and Patrick on the little roller coaster. That's what that is.
compared to quintessential quintuplets.
Compared to anything.
What do you got against Midsommar?
I mean, it's not a cartel beheading, if that's what you're asking.
It doesn't have to be. It's a perfectly fine movie.
Everything should have a cartel beheading in it at some point.
Does quintessential quintuplets have a cartel beheading?
Yeah, it was in the Breaking Bad crossover.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Quintuplets. Oh, man.
Put your dick away, Uesugi-san.
I finished Bob Odenkirk's book the other day. I think he came on to Breaking Bad not having seen the rest of the show, and he tells the story of how he turned to Bryan Cranston and said, "So is Gus like Walter's friend?" And Bryan Cranston just goes, "You really haven't seen the rest of the show, huh?"
Yeah, because he's not just Walt's friend. They're best friends.
They are lovers.
Rev up those fryers and fill those champagne glasses to the tippy top. It's West Coast Toast and Roast with Tommy, Will, and Dav. Welcome back to West Coast Toast and Roast. I kind of like that we ended last episode with shipping Walter and Mike, because the last thing uttered was, "Walter, take your clothes off." And now we're opening this one on Walter and Gus. Put in the comments below who the real power couple is, Team Gus or Team Mike, to win over Walter. I like the idea of Team Mike a bit. It seems a little more gentle, and I'm Tommy.
I'm a bit indifferent, and I don't want to spoil anything, which shows why neither of those would work, and I'm Will.
I'm Team Saul. I'm Dad.
Walt. Would their ship name be Salter White?
It would be Wall Woodman.
I don't think that works as well.
Do you think, like, the first time they get together, Walt's just like, so that's why they call you Slippin' Jimmy?
Man. All right. Well, disgusting. Speaking of which, Will, why don't you start us off with our first topic of the day?
Well, coincidentally, my first toast is actually Breaking Bad. I watched it for the first time in, like, the past 2 months. And, it's just as good as everyone says. For a show that is kind of mainly like people standing around and talking, there's just like the dialogue is just so natural and good. And then on top of that, like every character, even if you don't like them, you can't help but be engaged in them. So, like, there's characters that, only show up for, like, an episode or two, or, like, only show up once every season, and you're still like, oh, fuck, it's them. On top of that, Bryan Cranston, Aaron Paul, Bob Odenkirk, Giancarlo Esposito, literally everyone does like a perfect job. Um, I don't know, because like usually, you guys know me. I usually like fantasy stuff or stuff that couldn't happen in real life. This is very, for the most part, down to earth. But
It kind of feels like you're just kind of like watching real events play out most of the time.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's part of what makes it so engaging because you're like, oh shit, yeah, that's like there's no heroes, there's no heroic triumphs. It's just things happening, but it's very engaging.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like I've like. I'm sorry. I feel like I've like my toe-sized so many weird, scant details about Breaking Bad that like I don't know. Not to say I'll never watch it, but it's just it's interesting from the outside looking in. I'm gonna have to get around to it at some point. I don't know what else to tell you.
No, I get you. It's interesting because like, you go on Twitter, you go on anywhere and you see all these memes about like the characters being like acting like they're in a sitcom. And then you like someone drew the Breaking Bad gang in like the Lucky Star art style. Um and you get into the show and it's like, oh my god, they, dissolved this person in a acid. That's pretty fun. Um so it is kind of funny how the fan base takes what is like very serious and dark and meaningful moments. Like, everyone at home's probably seen like the gif of Walter White falling over, right?
Yep.
So that is like one of the most like heartbreaking moments in the show, and people like caption it with like, when I take a bite of my spaghetti and there's no chicken nuggets, or
When I take a bite of my horror movie and there's no cartel decapitating.
uh when I take a bite of my quintuplets and I realize that they're my sisters.
No.
Anyways, Breaking Bad.
Stuck the landing.
Um yeah, I think it's a really just like important kind of subsect of TV history because I feel like no other show I've watched is so like, kind of down to earth but still as engaging as like Star Wars. Like it's a bit of a weird comparison, but like the joy you feel from like kind of watching the Empire's plans in the first three Star Wars and how the villains navigate each other. It's like that, but for real life.
The real life.
I don't know why that really got me.
But I mean, you could see what I mean, though, right?
I think so.
Yeah, but I do want to issue a correction on something you said earlier. That kind of bothered me a little bit. Sorry. You said that there were no heroes in the story, and I do have to say that there is one, and his name is Huel Babineau.
Oh yeah, you know what, Dev? I revoke my statement because Huel is wow, God, now I just feel like a fucking fool. Okay, but Dav, I feel like Huel's goodness kind of cancels out because he's up against so many characters who are almost pure evil. You've got Gus, you've got Walter White, you've got Walt Jr.
Is Walt Jr. Pure evil?
Oh, he's awful.
Oh, yeah.
He's probably the worst character in the show. He's so just vile and sadistic.
Really?
Yeah.
I
He has the highest kill count, too.
What? He's
Everything.
Isn't he?
No, so Tommy, you need to watch Breaking Bad. I don't want to spoil anything, but like a lot of deaths in the show, Walt Jr. is like either directly or indirectly responsible for. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm being gaslit right now.
He did the Albuquerque 9/11.
Oh,
I think okay, all right. I'll have to. I was getting like vibes of Junior Soprano, where he like in the last season is an adult and tries to like live up to his father's criminal empire, but he's kind of pathetic. All I get is a all right, I'll watch Breaking Bad sometime, I guess.
yeah. We don't want to spoil anything.
All right.
Let's just say that breakfast will never be the same for you.
What the
Yeah. Lego my ego.
Um, no, but also, I mean, speaking of like, funny Breaking Bad ha-has, the show does have a really good sense of humor when it wants to. Like in one scene, and I know you probably heard of this, Tommy, Walt throws like a pizza on the roof.
I haven't heard of that.
Really?
You probably know this one, but Walt spills his oatmeal. What the fuck are you talking about?
No, okay, the pizza on the roof is like a famous moment from it. I'm surprised you don't know.
It is.
It is, Tommy. I'm not even kidding.
The pizza on the... You don't even know what you're saying.
It's like Fiddler on the Roof for Italians. How do you not know about this?
Well, anyways,
it's called The Sopranos. The Sopranos has a panic attack over Gabagool, like a real show, all right?
Well, here's the funny thing about the pizza on the roof.
Enlighten me about the pizza on the roof.
So there's a scene where Walt like brings over pizza and his at that time ex-wife doesn't want it. So he like gets mad and throws it on the roof. But the stunt would only work if it's like a non-cut pizza. But like you may be thinking, wait a second, pizza restaurants don't like do that where they just like randomly serve not cut pizza. So they created an in-universe reason as to why the pizza was not cut, and it's fucking hilarious.
You really need to find yourself a fucking tea.
Do you know what I'm talking about, Dev?
I mean, I'm just I mean, I can tell from the silence that Tommy just does not believe you.
I'm starting to... My initial assumption was that Walt loves Skylar so much that he handmade that pizza and hadn't cut it yet.
Well, Tommy, you were wrong.
Yeah.
Well, this show, you're not selling me. You're not selling me. How about like Laser Eyes? Does that come up in the show?
Yeah, I mean, after Walt Jr. gets injected with Compound V, it really takes a turn for the worse.
Hey guys, Peter Griffin here. The joke here is that those shows share an actor. Have you watched El Camino yet?
No, I haven't, but I do really want to. The problem is it's I guess not a problem, but it's like 2 hours long, so I want to find some time to sit down and watch it.
Oh, that's long for you?
No, but just like, right now I've been kind of focusing on like TV shows, which I'm going to be probably toasting it next. Or no, I probably will toast a game next, but I guess I've been focusing on those.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, that's what I got to say about Breaking Bad. Dav, unless you have anything to add, I'll pass it to you.
There's only so much you can add on to Breaking Bad because you want somebody to go in fresh. You want to talk about as little as possible so that you get that great first experience.
That is very true.
As fresh as that pizza?
Yeah, it's about as fresh and uncut and long and hard and all that stuff.
Nice.
But I guess if it's my turn, I'll take my turn.
All right.
I'm going to talk about a TV show that has been making some waves, maybe a little too much lately, and that is Cyberpunk Edgerunners.
Oh, okay.
I am gonna toast it because it's very good. And for context, Cyberpunk Edgerunners is sort of it's made specifically to promote Cyberpunk 2077, which is a whole other box of frogs we don't really need to get into.
Oh.
But it takes place pretty much like the year before Cyberpunk 2077, and it takes place something like 30 years after the original Cyberpunk game. And it's very good at standing on its own. Like, you do not need to play any of the games to know, to have a good time with this.
It's like a Arcane situation.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, I'm not ever going to play League of Legends ever again, but Arcane is still fantastic.
Can't believe you played it in the first place.
I tried it a couple times in high school because everybody did. You know, it's the gateway drug, and I just didn't get addicted, alright? So it's all good. I'm a functional human being now. But anyway, Cyberpunk Edgerunners doesn't really... Like I said, you don't need to experience the other games, and I think that even after watching Edgerunners, you don't really need to play Cyberpunk 2077 to feel like you have a complete experience, which is very nice. It's like it's very self-contained, and it ends in a way that just kind of makes sense. The only exception to that would be if you care particularly about Adam Smasher, who is sort of the overarching villain of every Cyberpunk property. He's basically
Smasher as in like ADAM or
yes.
Okay. Because there's a character named Atom Smasher, and I didn't know if they were like they had the same name.
Well,
his name is Adam Smasher.
Well, say what Adam Smasher is from.
Adam Smasher is from the DC Comics.
Specifically this month. Say it.
Adam Smasher is from a movie.
Say the title of the movie you saw twice this month, Will.
Oh, you saw it twice?
You know, my mom did want to see it. Black Adam.
Yes! Yes! Continue about Cyberpunk Edgerunners, David.
Anyway, Cyberpunk Edgerunners, Adam Smasher, ADAM Smasher. He is a borged out motherfucker. He's basically 99% cybernetics, and he's absurdly powerful. And he does sort of act as like the main villain of like the tabletop RPG and the video game and now the anime. He's very cool, but so you know, if you do want to see more of him, then I guess you can go into the other properties, but you really do not have to. Because really the star of the show here is the two main characters, David and Lucy, and they are really fantastic and just very compelling characters to see sort of how their stories go. I would say especially David actually kind of, you wouldn't really know it from the way that the show is marketed and the way that people talk about it. I assume it's just because people simp for Lucy so absurdly much, but I think that David Martinez is honestly a more compelling character than Lucy, but I think they're both great in their own respects. And just seeing sort of how they, you know, without going into spoilers, sort of how Night City, which is the setting, and sort of acts as its own character, sort of seeing how it kind of affects them is really great to see.
I heard a lot of people are describing this as feeling like a retro sci-fi anime you'd see at like 3 a.m. on Adult Swim or something, and I'm very enticed by that vibe if it lives up to it.
It does kind of have that vibe, yeah. There's like something that I cannot fault Cyberpunk 2077 for is that it has a pretty nice atmosphere when it actually works. This show certainly carries that over quite a bit more, arguably, since it's, you know, much more curated experience.
And you said it's arguably been getting too much airtime. Is it because people are playing the game because of it?
Yeah, I think that it's not really that, because I think that the game in its current state is perfectly good, and it's you know, it's a fun game. I just think that it's gotten to the point where people have been saying like, "Oh, the game was always good, and you guys just didn't know that." And it's like, no, the fuck it was not.
That's
When it was like
that is so Cap Junior.
Well, when it first came out, I just know like when it was first out and fresh and glitchy, I had first gotten my PS5 and you know, I was setting that up, and what my roommate at the time notices, and he comes up and he's like, "Oh, setting up the PS5, huh?" I'm like, "Yup," and he's like, "Have I got something for you?" And he goes down to his room in the basement and comes back up with his copy of Cyberpunk, and he's like, "This is for you to try out, man. It's gonna be great on the PS5." And I felt like I was being like passed the drag me to hell curse Like I was being given like the Treasure Island black mark or something, and that game sat on my shelf for the rest of my lease, and I gave it back when I moved out.
Did you even tell him you didn't play it?
I think I was like, yeah, it turned out pretty well, and then I never saw him again. And I moved out. Now I have my own place where no one can make me play Cyberpunk. I just make myself play bad games.
I mean, to put it into perspective, I got it at launch and played it on the PC, and that did not run very well. And that was the absolutely by far the best running version of that game. And Cyberpunk, its flaws like don't even really come down to it being buggy. It's also just not a very well designed game. Like even if it worked perfectly, it's not. It's not what they promised at the very least.
Do you think if you asked Keanu about Cyberpunk, he'd be like, what?
I think he'd care a little bit about it. He was hyping that game up when that was being marketed, but he's also kind of the weakest part of the game. But again, I don't want to get too into criticizing the video game because I think that the anime is fantastic on its own and deserves quite a bit of praise because it's a great story. I do think in some aspects it's a bit overrated, but I still had a really good time with it. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna ask, I sometimes struggle with Trigger stuff, because I usually like their art style, but sometimes I just don't always, get invested in the particular characters they go for, and I don't want to say, it's all style over substance, because they're good at their style, but, I don't know, I don't think any Trigger characters are, my favorite. Is that, an issue? Would you say this is maybe a cut above in that regard?
I'd say definitely, yeah. Especially since the last Trigger anime I watched was Darling in the Franxx. This was a huge, massive step up from that.
Well, so a massive step up from Darling in the Franxx is that animation of Satsuki going, Kabakari!
Squidward.
We won't talk about that one.
Every 5 months, I remember. There's this weird ripoff of Darling in the Franxx going on now.
What's it called?
Urusei Yatsura? I don't. They're just giving me some major Darling in the Franxx vibe. Seems like kind of a knockoff, if you ask me.
Jazz music is giving me Persona 5 vibes.
I want the whole audience to know that I'm joking. I hope to God no one took me seriously there.
I don't think anybody did. But,
hey, there's people saying that Dr. Fate is a knockoff of Doctor Strange when Dr. Fate came out first, regardless of his status in Black Adam in theaters now.
Let's never talk about Black Adam again.
Oh, wait till you hear what Tommy has to talk about next.
It's actually not in my Rolodex. I was hoping you would have it.
Oh.
So I'm going to cover it on my channel.
Nobody's talking about it?
Huh?
So nobody's talking about it?
Will?
Oh gosh, I guess it depends on if I get through the things I want to get through.
Because my stats is that it's probably going to end up on my channel somehow, either way. And I mean, you've seen it twice as many times as I have, so.
That is true, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to let you live that down.
We liked it the same amount, Tommy.
I know, but
don't lie to me, Walt.
But when Dad gives us shit about something, you tend to pivot, so I'm not gonna let you forget it.
Okay.
Mr. Captain Marvel is my favorite Marvel hero 2 months before we meet Dav.
Oh.
You know what, Tommy?
Yeah?
You're just like the baby from I Think You Should Leave. You don't think people can change.
I think people can change other people.
Anyway, Cyberpunk Edgerunners is pretty damn good. Check it out. It's short and sweet. I think it's only 10 episodes. Don't watch it on Netflix because don't give Netflix your money. Watch it anywhere else that does not provide them with any revenue streams endorsing that.
We know who you
also,
should give your money.
I don't want to hear it, Tommy.
My Patreon.
Black Adam.
No. No. Anyway, the best one of my favorite parts about Cyberpunk Edgerunners is that they officially confirmed it is not getting a season 2, which is fantastic that they can just tell a story and be fucking done with it. I love that shit.
I was gonna ask about that because I think Trigger does get their jollies a lot off just the really self-contained stuff, and I think really that's how it all should be because I don't need to see naked girls swinging around scissors for 100 episodes.
I do. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. I'm passing it off to Tommy, who I hope is not going to talk about Black Adam.
I'm not going to talk about Black Adam yet.
Squidward out.
I think Will and I should just ambush with Black Adam towards the end. No, we'll see. We'll see how.
Just like the Squidwards, except it's Black Adam, Black Adam, Black Adam,
Black Adam.
Man. Anyway, so I'm going to start with the toast. This is a game I'm playing in preparation for another game. The trailer for Octopath Traveler 2 looked so doggone good that I finally dusted off my copy of Octopath Traveler from my backlog. And I'm enjoying it, but I hope I'm not hitting hurdles with it. This is befitting for the Halloween episode, because if you guys know anything about me, it's that JRPGs scare me. I have a bit of a phobia of them. I can be very impatient. I can be, grinding doesn't always jive with me. There's, just JRPGs have a lot of elements that, unless it's like a baby level one, like Pokemon, or, something absolutely legendary, like Final Fantasy VII, I rarely muster the courage to start them or finish them. Octopath Traveler, though, alleviates a lot of the issues I have with JRPGs. Where to begin? I guess the neat thing, kind of a blessing and a curse, kind of a double-edged sword, is that all of the party members each have their own story. You pick one to start with, travel to where you find the next one, they join your party, and they have their own story going. Each character has 4 chapters that you tackle bit by bit with party members of, the rest of the ensemble, of Octopath Travelers. Now, a common complaint that's absolutely valid is that the characters don't really involve themselves in each other's story all that much. You'll be taking on, you'll be doing Therion chapters, and he's entirely driving the plot. The other characters stand by silently almost, with the exception, unless there's what they call a character banter time, where if you happen to have the correct characters in the correct place, they'll have a brief personalized conversation, just to keep that rolling. I do think that's kind of a bummer, that you're kind of just playing 8 different stories where for entire chunks characters are just like silent. But what I do like about that is that sometimes in JRPGs, I feel like when you get a big party, the characters can feel very satellite to each other. Like it's like even Final Fantasy VII, which I think has one of the best casts of characters ever. It is a little like, okay, well, Kate Sith is also here, and I don't know, Sid isn't necessarily my favorite. And they're all kind of satellite to each other. Whereas the characters in Octopath Traveler each feel like the main character of their own story. And they're still drastically different and represent different classes. And it does also make the game feel easier to chop up, because JRPGs get long, but I can be like, well, I'll clear a chapter today. I really like the combat also. The system consists, I think the big draw of it is the boost, where every turn you get a little boost power, little energy circle guy, and you can always apply boost to your attacks if you've got it. You get it every turn. So, in a way that's hard to articulate, you can really just like you just feel a lot more involved in combat choices when you can specifically control how strong your next move is going to be. I can do there's a big difference between I know this is the most effective move I have, and I know this is the most effective move I have, and I can stack it thrice over. I just feel a lot more involved that way. Character weaknesses are always like very clear, and when you come across new enemies, it's always this fun game of let's try our every weapon and every elemental attack and just see what happens and expose all those weaknesses. I really have a good time with Octopath Traveler. I guess where I'm starting to hit a wall is that I've cleared all the first chapters, and now I'm in Therion's second chapter. and I did not anticipate how steep the difficulty climb would be. I'm on the the boss for Therion's second chapter, and I'm just getting the shit kicked out of me. And this is how it tends to be with JRPGs, is that I hit this big wall. You have to grind a lot, because, you know, in something like Pokemon, just by traveling naturally, you'll come across a lot of encounters, and you'll get where you need to be. For this, if you just stick to the tried and true of the story, you'll come across like no random encounters. You have to go out of your way to grind. I'm, you know, kind of figuring between chapters depending on how you prioritize characters. And just figuring out that balance has been kind of a challenge, but I'm going to see if I can power through. I'd really like to have this game finished before Octopath Traveler 2 comes out in February. But the pace I was going, I was like knocking out the first chapters, and now I'm like very stonewall, and I'm like, I don't know where this is going.
Yeah, Octopath is pretty cool. I really appreciate it for kind of basically creating the 2.5D art style.
It's a very pretty game.
Yeah. I know Dragon Quest III is getting a remake with that style, and that's really exciting.
Oh. That's good news. My starting character was Hanit, because I liked her vibe, but I really like Primrose, the dancer, and not just for the reasons you think. I think her story's very cool. I like Alfin, the apothecary, a lot as well. I do think there's very little gray area between characters who are very complex and very original like those two. And then there's Ophelia, who kind of puts me to sleep when it's her story chapters, honestly. I hope it looks like the second game is building basically every character in 2 looks like a marked improvement. They all look very complex. I really like all their designs. And judging by the trailer, they're going to interact much more proactively within the story outside of those big event dialogue bits.
Yeah, that is great news, honestly.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so you didn't finish Octopath Traveler either, did you?
No, I didn't yet.
Did you run into the same grinding issue as me, or?
No, I just did get like a little tired of having to jump between story and story when I really only wanted to play like a few of them.
I see.
But you know, there are the parts of the areas that are walled off and you can't go there unless you do the story, and it's like, well, I mean, what do we do now?
So you never came across a point where you were like still underleveled?
No, not really.
Interesting.
Yeah, but you know, also I usually do like, you know, grind for like maybe 5-10ish minutes before I know there's a boss. It's just like a habit of mine when I play JRPGs.
I've been grinding. That's it. I wonder if there's some part of the combat I'm not grasping then, because I'm grinding plenty, frankly. And it's not like you're without a paddle. They show you the recommended level, but I'm still just getting thrashed. So I wonder if maybe I need to. Maybe when you come by for Thanksgiving, I need to show you my method, and there's something I'm missing or something.
Yeah, you definitely could.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh no, yeah. How far did you make it? Like, would you say you made it through like the second or third chapter of different characters?
I'd say so, yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I know I got every single character.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Man, yeah, I do really hope that that the second one, yeah, just it makes the characters very involved. You know, I guess no small part of it is that I feel like I'm on a deadline to beat this one before the second one comes out, because when that one arrives, I'll want to put this one away probably. We'll see how it goes. I don't know. I like this game a lot so far, though. I think it's a very pretty game. I like the different, even though the characters have a lot of overlap, I think they work well enough as different classes. Yeah, I've been enjoying that one. I'd recommend it.
When did the Inklings show up?
No doubt that's Octopath Traveler too.
Oh, the Octo expansion.
Yeah. Weird we haven't talked about Splatoon on this podcast.
Well.
Anyway, I'll pass it away. Pass it off. Will, you're up, bud.
All right, so I'll do another toast. And recently, I went through Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, and it's really good, and it makes me depressed that we will probably never have a Fire Emblem like it again. So, the cool thing about Path of Radiance is it really breaks the Fire Emblem formula and just kind of tells, like, the gameplay's the same, but it's not really like the other Fire Emblems. Like, in every other Fire Emblem, there's, like, a dragon as the final boss. But in this one, the boss is just a dude, who, like, has insane stats. And, in all of Fire Emblem, it's like, oh, you're this prince with all these awesome powers, or, oh, you're like this secret magical being. But in this one, the hero is just Ike, and he's just a dude. And I think that kind of really goes into play that, you don't have to be quote unquote special to be a hero. So the story is basically, this one neighboring country invades another, and bad stuff happens, and then Ike, who has to take on, the mantle of the head of his mercenaries,
The what?
joins up. What's that?
The what of his mercenaries?
Like, he has to be the head of, like, his father's mercenaries.
The head of his mercenaries.
Yeah.
Is that head floating?
Dav. I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that.
It's okay, guys. It's just a Thor reference. It's the best movie of the year.
Yeah.
I'd say it's only the second best movie involving a lightning-themed superhero this year.
No.
Anyways. So yeah, Ike's a really good character because he's not like, he's not, if you take a look, like, he's not boring like Byleth and doesn't talk, and he's not just kind of bland like Robin. He's just, good at what he does, and, he's kind of like still figuring stuff out, so he says stuff that's like not exactly the right thing to say, but it's pretty charming. As far as the story goes, pretty much every Fire Emblem is like, oh, big monster, or in the case of Three Houses, it's just war bad. But in this one, I think it's particularly interesting because the person who's causing the war, the king, doesn't really believe in what he's doing. He's just doing it because he's trying to, unlock this, this greater power, which he eventually never does. And so it's kind of cool. Instead of just like it takes the war bad approach, it does say that, but it also shows that, when the higher ups wage wars for petty reasons, it's the people who fight them and the people that are in the way that suffer on both sides, no matter who started. Like, there are times when he's like, you know what? The mercenaries are in this village with our people in it. Let's, flood it. And the people who are flooding the village, like the soldiers, are like honorable, but they still do it because it's like, well, I have duty to my country. And I think that's interesting, especially for as kind of like a commentary on the art of war and specifically the soldier. And then also, there's this kind of bit about, it's I guess a bit of a racism metaphor, because there's this like other group of people that can turn into animals, but they aren't as smart as humans. So those people eventually join up with Ike's team, but then people on Ike's team were like taught as children to hate these people. So it's like when they join their crew, they kind of have to readdress like, wow, I thought this for my entire life, and I just never even took the time to know someone who was on the other side. I just think it's a really cool game, and it doesn't really get talked about enough. Um, Especially just because Ike is a really cool hero, like kind of on on his own.
Is this at what point in Ike's Anchor Arms evolution is this game?
So this is when he's like a kid.
All right, and so this was before. Is it Radiant Dawn? Is the other one with Ike?
Yeah, Radiant Dawn is a sequel.
Were these both for like Wii?
No, the Radiant Dawn was for Wii, and then Path of Radiance was for GameCube.
Oh, okay, all right. For some reason, I thought this was like a handheld game.
No.
Interesting.
Well, it was when he played it.
Oh yeah.
Hey, shh.
It's not illegal, Will.
Hey,
Well, anyways.
Hey, Will has his own standards, and he operates on a moral gray area, just like his favorite DC character, Black Adam.
I'm going to come to your house. I know where you live.
You joke, but like even if I didn't like the movie, Black Adam is a really cool character in the comics. So.
Yeah. You know what? I thought that movie came out great. Just to be clear,
Yeah.
I joke, but I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. All right. So, how's the supporting cast in this one? We were just talking about JRPG teams and how hit and miss they can be.
Yeah. The supporting cast in this one is like pretty good. Like I felt like in Three Houses they tried a little too hard to make every character stand out, so some of them were kind of caricatures.
Kind of like,
but in this,
it's kind of like It's like a Danganronpa ensemble of Fire Emblem characters.
Basically, yeah. You joke, but that's pretty much exactly how I describe it.
Yeah, it took a while for me to figure out that Sylvain and Ferdinand are different characters.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. But yeah, the cast, like, they're definitely, it is Ike's story, and I do really like that, but the supporting cast is still really cool. Like, there's not one character you're like, oh my god, I hate this, I wish they'd go away. The worst character is just one that, doesn't get a ton of, I guess, not screen time, but, like, game time. But there's still opportunities around every corner to get to, know and communicate with these characters, which I think is really cool.
Does this one have the Black Knight?
Yes, and he's like the one Fire Emblem villain that's actually good. Because he is very mysterious, and like it's not until Radiant Dawn we learn who he is, but even though we don't in the first game, we just know that he's like a knight. It doesn't detract from anything. Like he's still very intimidating. He's got a lot of charisma. He's awesome. So
well, it sounds delightful overall. I've never really taken to Fire Emblem, but hey, I've had my my entryways. Who knows where the entryway could be? Maybe it's that one after all.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a bit difficult because, we didn't get into the era of Fire Emblem where you can choose not to have your units permanently die. But it's like once you look past that, it's just kind of a top-notch story.
Sorry. This one is permadeath. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this one does have like once a character dies in battle, they don't come back, and there's not really an option to do it otherwise.
And if you die in real life.
Yeah.
As it should be.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyways, that's my 2 cents on Fire Emblem Path of Radiance.
Very nice.
So, Davey, the rest is yours.
Oh, the rest is okay. I'm going to take it over. I'm going to talk about, I don't know if you guys have heard of this game. But to kick off the spooky season, I decided to start with a video game that I have been putting off for a while. Finally got around to it. And that is Devil May Cry.
Oh, hell yeah.
This is the first one. Played it on the Switch, and it was very good. I liked it.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, I know you're a big fan of the man Dante, and I think after playing this, I am too. He's a great fella.
Hell yeah! I mean, wait till you get to 3, because that really ups it to 11.
Yeah, I am excited for that. I'm going to skip 2 because I heard that's what you're supposed to do.
As you should.
But I was surprised when I played this because the combat is surprisingly really fun for a game this old.
Yeah, no, the combat kind of I wouldn't say it was perfected in the first game, but like it hit the ground running. Nothing about it ages poorly.
Right.
I will. My opinion of 1 is always been like I like 1, and we played them 1, then 3. So we played 1 and we enjoyed 1. Then the second I laid my hands on 3, though, I'm like, oh, I'm never going back.
Yes. I'm excited for 3.
You're gonna love
I mean, if it's better than the first one, and the first one, like, I do have my problems with it, mostly in terms of like, it's just jarring difficulty sometimes with some of the bosses. Specifically, I think Nightmare is the one that I just had such a hard time with because he has horrible hitboxes. But it was still very fun. I actually really had a lot of fun with the last boss, especially.
Mundus.
Yeah, and there's just like overall, I think that what this game really does super well is its atmosphere. Just has sort of this gothic vibe to it. It is just like so nice, and it's it's perfect to play during the spooky season because of that. I think
absolutely.
It's also got like Dav, I don't know. Did you know that it was gonna be a Resident Evil game at first?
I did not know that.
Yeah, but then they thought it was a little too different, so they decided not to make it to Resident Evil.
You can still see like the DNA in there with some of the puzzles and stuff. Totally.
Yeah, and also with some of the campy dialogue.
Oh.
Yes.
That's another great thing about 3 is that's when they kind of acknowledge how silly it is and they just totally lean into it. I was supposed to be the one to fill your soul with light.
Yeah, that caught me a bit off guard because I mean the dialogue was kind of silly up to that point, but there wasn't a whole lot of it, and then that just happens, and I'm like, oh. It's great though. I love it. Yeah. What I think one thing I really enjoyed about it, especially, was the weapon variety was really nice. Sort of being able to mix up your fighting styles between like the sword and the fisters.
Oh yeah, and in the next DMC game, you can. I'm pretty sure it's like 4, maybe more, swords and 4 types of guns.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. You're only gonna get more and more as you go through the series. Like it's one of those situations where that's all I have to add is that this is great, and it's only like they only continue to play up the best aspects.
Very nice. Well. Yep, this is a series that I'm pretty hooked on, so thank you, Will, for recommending that.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, you also bought me the game technically like a while back, and I just like never played it. So.
Oh yeah, jeez, that was a while back.
Man, those
I've finally done it.
Those Kamiya character action games sure are great when there's not upsetting controversy marring them. But we'll go on that later.
That's true. I do think I mean I think I heard that the Bayonetta 3 controversy's kind of been settled now though.
Kinda, yeah. We'll get on to that one. That's in my news panel. There's much to discuss, but yeah.
Cool. Well, that's all I got to say, so pass it on to you.
I want Best Girl in Devil May Cry is fun to discuss because there's I love Trish. And you're going to get Lady in DMC3. And I'm interested to see who you feel best girl is.
Oh, well, so far it's Dante.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I'll wait till you meet Virgil. That's real best girl.
Power.
Oh,
it's wonderful. An anti-hero. No, I'm not going to go there. Not going to go there. All right.
Sherman Potato Smith.
All right, I'm going to switch us to roast because we've been a little too happy this hour so far, boys. I rented and promptly returned after a short time with Dragon Ball The Breakers.
Oh, you actually...
That's the asymmetric game, right?
Yep. And,
Yeah, that, I mean, at least in my opinion, everything I saw from that, it didn't look quite like a masterpiece.
No. So it was almost this is where I say, oh, it's a good year for Dragon Ball Mania, because I loved the superhero movie. And I was like, well, here we go. Let's be on a roll. And, you know, the temperature on this is a little weird. Some people are like, it's bad. Some people are like, it's okay. We talked about it when it was first revealed like a year ago, and I loved the idea. Because what this game is, for the uninitiated, is an asymmetrical Dead by Daylight like, where a team of 7 are all the non-powered, non-fighter characters from Dragon Ball. They'll beg your pardon, the likes of Bulma and Oolong and Farmer with Shotgun, and one player is one of the super powerful villains, either Cell, Frieza, or Majin Buu. And as, you know, the raider, the villain, you have to kill everybody else, and the survivor, the frantic non-fighter, has multiple means to either escape or do away with the villain. And I really loved that concept, because even though Dragon Ball is so much about fighting and super powerful characters, a lot of key plot points are largely thanks to characters that you would never play as in like a fighting game. Like Bulma is the first character Goku ever meets and is important to the lore to this day, but she is not a fighter. And in the years and years and years of Dragon Ball fighting games, I think this is like the first one she's ever been like actually playable in, which is so bizarre to think of, because she's like inseparable from Dragon Ball.
That is pretty cool that she's getting a chance to shine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she got pretty powerful in the movie.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So if you know, you know. So I love the concept. I was like, that's actually brilliant. That's a great way to go about it. It's just too bad that this game plays like fucking dog shit. So as a survivor, you can either rebuild the time machine to get out of there, or you can find items that let you transform into a powered Dragon Ball hero and use that power to kill the bad guy. And I find that the issue is you have a team of 7 survivors, and it's really hard to be on the same page with everyone else. So you're all just scrambling and gathering items, and it's disorienting to play because Trunks is in your earpiece the whole time, and when you approach an item, he'll say, there's nothing to do here. Go do this other thing. And I'm like, but there's 2 different fucking tasks. What are you talking about? It's so unfocused. It wants to be very focused and tight, but it's very unfocused. The stages, I'm not familiar with this genre of asymmetrical action very much. I rented briefly and fooled around with the Evil Dead game as well. But I kind of get the impression that something like Dead by Daylight is very intimate. You're on like a small campsite with a few characters. The stages in this game, they're huge. They're fucking gigantic. So I was often just like running for meters at a time, coming across nothing. I guess, the game asks you when you set up a game, do you want to be a raider or survivor, or a raider or a survivor? And I asked over and over to be a raider, and I never even got to try it, because every game is 8 players, and only one of those players is a raider. It just distributes what it can, and you almost never get to try it. It sucks. Like I said, it just controls badly. When you get to like I said, there's the items that let you transform into either Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, or Krillin, or a few other options. And by some miracle, controlling Bulma running around on the Earth feels smoother and better than controlling like a Super Saiyan. Because it's an open world and you hit a button to fly and you just go fuck all. And I've never got the hang of it, and it sucks. Dragon Ball has a long line of like arena fighters, the Budokai Tenkaichi game and Raging Blast, and they gave you a lock-on where you know, even though you're in a, if you've watched Dragon Ball, the fights are fucking insane. They're flying in every direction. Like, how would you ever control that in a fighting game? In those games, you hit one button, your character snaps in the right direction, and you're locked onto your opponent. This game did not get that memo. And anytime I got to painstakingly enjoy the power fantasy of transforming into Goku or whoever, I flew into a wall and fuck all, and then I transformed back into a normal person. I was right in front of the raider, and I fucking died.
Oh, so it's like a time limit.
Yes. So if you're beating up the raider and you're right in front of them when it happens, and it's you're stranded with them, and it's a very unfocused game. It controls badly. It's unfinished animation wise in some areas. I'm trying to express. You got characters talking on the phone and holding it to their face, but they're holding it like 5 feet away from their cheek. You've got if your character gets a dragon radar, that's a little device they hold in their hand to find items, and I'm trying to articulate this as best as possible. You go into first person view, your arm with the radar is in front of you, and as you run, the background and stage around you is moving as your arm stays perfectly still.
Oh, that is a little, that's a little odd.
It's very janky. It gave me big, like, Jump Force vibes, the way the characters interact and move, honestly. Not good. The game is apparently going to have Season 2. One of the villains they're going to introduce is Great Ape Vegeta, which I kind of love to see, because I think that's an underrated aspect of Vegeta. But I cannot fathom playing this game anymore. It's really bad.
It sounds like that Meat Canyon sketch is a video game.
What Meat Canyon sketch?
The one where it's like Goku comes home looking for Gohan, and he's it's implied that he's going to kill his wife. You have to watch it to understand. Just go watch it. It's hilarious.
I was wondering what other civilians would be in Season 2, but I think they'll absolutely put in Chi-Chi. He's pretty cool. Man. Yeah, I appreciate the commitment to, like, you know, if you're playing as Cell as a villain character, he starts off in his base larva form, and you have to absorb people to transform gradually into your perfect form. I appreciate that level of commitment, but I never even got to be a fucking raider because you have a 7/8 chance of being a survivor, and it's no fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like it sucks.
Yeah, it blows. I thought it was such a neat idea, but I think they overthought it and undermade it. Oh well. Will, I'll pass it off to you.
All right. So I know you were like, we're too positive, but I got another toast. And this one is for Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. And specifically, episode 3, The Autopsy. So, every episode of the Cabinet of Curiosities, is basically its own short film. And when, you know, we all watched the first one together and we were like, man, this is not very good. But the second one was very good. It was like a period piece, and they spoke in almost Shakespearean dialogue, and it was super cool. But the third one, I feel like, is where it shines the most. Basically, it starts off with the sheriff and a mortician, and they're talking together. And he's like, listen, why did you call on me? You know, I'm the best damn mortician there is. And so over time, we get this story unveiled that there's this guy named Joe Allen who, like, was possibly not of this world. And so he has to do an autopsy on the people killed by him. and they notice that it like they're all kind of drained of blood. So you think, oh my god, this is a vampire story. But then it kind of like turns that idea on its head, and becomes one of the coolest examples of sci-fi horror I've seen since Annihilation.
All right. Yeah, we
It's
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say we tried the first episode of this, and I don't know about you guys. I didn't really vibe with it.
No, not really.
No.
That was bad.
Yeah. That one sounds very cool though. I do like it sounds like it plays on some tropes in a subversive way. Very cool. And I do kind of like how a lot of anthology series similar to this, it does kind of set like a. My problem with anthology sometimes is that directors, I get the palpable feel, will feel like pitted against each other, and they're going to try and one up each other and make something outrageous, and it turns out stupid. But this sounds like Guillermo's just like, yeah, these are my friends. I trust them. Take my word for it. They'll make cool shit. And I think
Yeah.
it seems like a much more lax environment.
Yeah, I think you may be right, honestly, because like all of them kind of feel like aesthetically similar, but the stories are so vastly different. And the dialogue and acting in this, good lord, is so good. There's a part where he's like, the coroner is talking to the monster, and the monster is talking in perfect English, which you'd think would be kind of goofy, but the dialogue is so purposeful and well written that it makes it like this regular kind of calm conversation between a human and this being, like absolutely fucking terrifying. There's a lot into play about, the world around us and how much we know and how much we should know. So it does kind of have Lovecraftian themes as well, and I'm all about that. But I'd honestly just say like the entire thing just melds so well, and it feels actually distinct. Like a lot of horror movies don't feel like distinct, but this one, even though it's not a movie, it's a short, it feels like I could point at this and be like, yeah, there's nothing out there like this, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, very cool. Would you say this is a anthology you should skip around a bit?
Yeah, because certain episodes aren't good. Um, which I found, like, my problem with anthology series is that like everything is either it does, like, take a look at Love, Death and Robots. Everything is either so good or just not.
Oh.
Like there's the fourth. What's that?
I just remember hating that fucking show.
Yeah, no, that's fair. The fourth episode, for example, kind of like, it's like at the beginning you think it's a social commentary on like beauty standards and such, but then by the end you're like, what were they trying to say? So that one's not very good. And then episode 5 is a Lovecraft adaptation, and that one's pretty good. But then episode 6 is another Lovecraft adaptation, which is not good at all. So it's definitely a mixed bag, but if you were like, the highs vastly outweigh the lows, especially with the autopsy.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, I'll just take a look at your letterbox and skip around to the ones you recommend then. And yeah, it sounds. I think if anyone should be the next Crypt Keeper, it should be Guillermo. I think he's earned it.
I completely agree. I feel like he's one of those filmmakers with such a wholly unique passion for not just like his own films, but like fostering filmmaking as an art for other people as well. Yeah. And I really respect that.
No, absolutely.
Anyways, let's hear Dav's autopsy on the next thing he's going to talk about, because I'm passing it over to him.
All right. Yeah, this is going to be a very positive episode because I'm also toasting this.
Pretty much.
Not only am I toasting it, it's the biggest toast I have to give in this episode.
Ooh.
And that is for the last 2 seasons, or I should say the latest 2 seasons of Kaguya-Sama.
Oh, okay.
Love is War, right?
Yes. Specifically, I think season 2 is called Love is War ? And then third season is called Ultra Romantic. I don't know. It's just that's how they name anime. I don't know. It's a really good comedy show, sort of a rom-com sort of deal. The premise basically being that there are these 2 students who run the student council at a very prestigious high school. They're both basically like geniuses and like, you know, the perfect student in every way. And with that comes a lot of pride for themselves and for their families. And they are both madly in love with each other. And they both kind of get the impression that they are madly in love with each other. But they don't want to be the one to confess that, because then it's like a shot to their pride if they do that, basically. So it inevitably it causes just a whole lot of situations where they try to play like 4D chess with each other, trying to get the other to confess. And you know, obviously they don't do that because then the show would end. But that's sort of the premise of the show, and it's surprising. Like it's a pretty simple concept that surprisingly carries a lot of the show into some really just hilarious places. And I really liked the first season when it came out. But I mean, there was just a really long time where I wasn't watching anime, so I didn't watch the second season when that came out. The third season came out this year, I believe. And so now that it's all out, I just binged through seasons 2 and 3. And I gotta say, it's like much better than I think even the first season. And I really liked the first season, so that's saying something. But it delves deeper, I think, into some of the side characters that weren't really as explored in the first season. You know, it was kind of just Kaguya and the president. They're kind of the big focus, but now they delve deep into like other members of the student council, and one of those members in particular, who is like the treasurer, I believe. His name is Ishigami. And he ended up being like I ended up putting him in my top 10 characters on Mal after season 3, because like his story arc, and I will not spoil it at all, is just so fucking fantastic that I love the guy.
Yeah, interesting. I guess what I'm kind of curious about, you said that, you know, they never reach a point where, because the show would end if they confess to each other. Do they manage to still change the dynamic so it doesn't get tired after like 3 seasons?
Yes.
Okay.
It's over time the dynamic starts to get more and more to the point where like they're both getting more and more desperate. And again, without going into spoilers, by the end of season 3, it gets to the absolute breaking point where they're just like considering, like very, very highly considering just dropping their pride and confessing.
Wow.
And I haven't read the manga too far, but as far as I know, there is a pretty massive shift after the end of season 3, like at the point where the story is, where it basically becomes, probably season 4, I think, is going to be a completely different show.
Oh, wow. It's going to like turn into, they're going to actually fight each other.
Oh yeah, they're going to murder each other.
This is the war part of Love is War.
Oh yes, I'm looking forward to it. It's if I could really summarize why this show is so great, it's they go so hard, and this is a Troy statement. I'm quoting Troy on this. Okay, they go so hard when they don't need to. Like,
so like they're eating food and the animation is like 150 FPS.
Pretty much, yeah. It goes into that a whole lot, and I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen the Chica dance. That was huge back.
I was gonna say, well, I've seen the first season. It's been a long time, so I can't speak like terribly. But isn't there shit over like their debate, like sweating over who's gonna offer a bit of their lunch or something?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it'll be like they'll be playing like a board game, And they'll somehow they'll put together a plan in their brain as to how they're going to get the other person to accidentally ask them out on a date or something through the board game. It's ridiculous, but it's so well done. And to go back to like the Chica dance, they do something like that in the third season that is probably better.
Really?
It's insane that the whole episode like has the special ED like the Chica dance was, but the whole episode is basically just a whole bunch of that, and it's probably my favorite episode of the series.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, it sounds fun.
And how many of these characters how many of these characters are related, David?
You know, the president does have a little sister, but there's nothing there. Don't worry, it doesn't do that anime trope.
Okay, good. I don't like
Okay, sure it doesn't.
All right.
Overall, just watch it for our guy Ishigami because he's fucking awesome. I love that guy.
We love a quiet boy. He looks very quiet to me.
He is, but like in a chaotic kind of way.
I'm into it. So, all right. Well, you mind if I take the wheel?
Go for it.
All right. Fresh off of last night, I'll toast the new release I watched last night. Henry Selick's first film in 13 years, Wendell Wild. It's finally here, and Netflix is doing a really bad job marketing it. It is there was something quite magical about having a Henry Selick movie brand new at the age of 25. Because I think as a kid, you just kind of accept it, like, yep, this is awesome, but it's like, you just kind of breathe it all in. It's easier to appreciate how good he is at creating the surreal as an adult, I feel, in a way that's hard to articulate. And I really enjoyed Wendell Wild. It's not his best, but I'd say I really, it's up there for me. I really liked it. I think right below Nightmare Before Christmas is where I'd rank it.
Oh wow, that's high praise.
Yeah, I really like it. We recently, I'm trying to figure out where to begin with this one. I guess the complaint you hear about this one a lot with some people who got early screeners is that it is overstuffed. And to tell you the truth, there is a ton going on. I won't argue with that. But I have a real soft spot for movies that set up disparate threads like that and bring them all together. And I thought this, like, almost every character, there's a lot of characters in this film, and they almost all have subplots. But I think they all come together in a way that really works. This is going to sound like the most bizarre comparison, but it kind of reminded me of Full Metal Alchemist as to how everything just kind of feeds into one another in a really neat way for a big final battle that I really enjoyed. You know, a notable caveat, not caveat, a notable asterisk, I guess, is that this is Henry Selick alongside Jordan Peele. And I think Jordan Peele, as a horror writer and director, creates very, very human characters, but they always stand in for an idea. He's very much into social commentary. You can tie just about all of his characters to a very specific mantra or notion or idea. And how that blends with Henry Selick's style in a really interesting way, because, you know, you've got these Jordan Peele-esque characters who are very nuanced and just very human, and then Henry Selick's design sensitivity is to make these like almost hideous caricatures. Almost everyone is garish looking and huge and, you know, very Henry Selick-esque. Most of the characters are humans. So there's this really interesting cross-section where you have these characters learning, like, having nuance and learning lessons and coming around, but still looking like clownish, monstrous Henry Selick puppets. And I mean that in a good way. It's just kind of a neat way they go about it. Like, this is the first time Henry Selick put two characters in a house, and it has to be just a normal person's house. But his sensitivities still come through, where it's colored really interestingly, and it's so exquisitely detailed. I thought that aspect of the film was very interesting.
Huh. I mean, I always loved, I think if anything, even if you don't like one of his films, you can always appreciate the art style.
Absolutely. Like, we rewatched Coraline recently, And
yeah,
it's a good one. It's a good one. Don't get me wrong. I find it meanders a little. Like, we'll be like, well, here's 10 minutes of the circus. I don't know. But it's never not stunning. And it's never, not a marvel of art, frankly.
yeah. It's a very pretty like all his movies are very aesthetically pleasing. That's what I'm looking for.
Completely. What's so interesting about this one too is that depending on there's certain points where characters' whole designs will change. Like Wendell and Wild in the front half of the movie, when they're in the demon world, so to speak, have this weird cell shaded quality to their design. And then when they transition to the human world, they look like sculptures like everybody else. And it's this weird tell that they're kind of out of their element. It's a very interesting touch.
That does sound pretty cool. Yeah.
They're the best part of the movie, of course. Key and Peele are such a great duo. They're really not the main character. I think the movie is named after them because they're marketable that way. They're kind of like if Genie or Beetlejuice had the job description of supernatural new best friend and they sucked at their job, and I love that for them. Yeah, it's more so about the girl, Kat. Some reviews were saying the voice actress does a bad job. I think she's perfectly fine, honestly. She's pretty cool. I do think, like I said, it is a very busy movie. I think I can see why some people have that grievance with it. And I also feel I kind of don't see why this one's PG-13. I think because they refer to hell a lot just as a place, and that was close enough to a swear. But it's not scary like Coraline is, to be frank.
Yeah, I mean, and in Mr. Toad's Wild Ride at Disneyland, you straight up go to hell. So if they can have it there.
Yeah. Do they say hell?
I don't think they say it, but like it's pretty clearly hell.
They have to say hell a lot in this movie, though, when referring to them.
Oh, so you think it's like the word itself?
Yeah, maybe. There's also, and like there's also one of the main characters is also trans, and I wonder if they like weren't, if there was some weird executive bullshit of them only being able to do that in a PG-13 movie. Like if Netflix was like, we can't have that for the kids, which is obviously fucking dog shit. So they just pushed the envelope on a couple small things to be able to have that vision. Because I really don't see how this is particularly more frightening or mean-spirited than Nightmare Before Christmas or even Coraline.
That's a bro moment.
Yeah. I was like, so when I was kind of waiting, just like, so when are we gonna earn that PG-13? It doesn't. I guess it's hard to get into without spoilers, but you know what? I think it's wonderful. It's it's surreal. It has a kick-ass soundtrack. Like they have some needle drops that I really enjoyed. Wendell and Wild. I thought that one came out great, and I wish it got more attention because it's like the Nightmare Before Christmas and Coraline guy made a movie, and Netflix is just like putting it alongside fucking Day Shift, like whether you appreciate it on the level I do or find it a little disappointing the way some do, that's complete bullshit.
Yeah, no, it should be at least given a chance to shine.
Yeah. I think it came out wonderfully. So do we want to do news now or?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm done.
All right. Okay, so bulletins. So this was kind of a weird month in that there was like a lot of news, but a couple big things. So it's going to seem downright silly. I bring up a couple things, but let's just ease into it. I'll give us a couple little appetizers, such as Hugh Jackman joining Ryan Reynolds in the next, what we assumed would be Deadpool 3, but Hugh Jackman seems insistent that that's not what it's going to be called.
Where'd you see that he was insistent it's not going to be called Deadpool 3?
It was just like an interview. I probably should have read the whole thing where he said like Logan would be very grumpy if that's what it was called. It'll have a different title or something like that.
Oh, so it's probably going to be like Deadpool and the Wolverine, like Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Maybe something like that. Man, I'm very exhausted by the notion of the MCU doing an X-Men when I think like we've done it, it's kind of over. We had Logan, that's the perfect period at the end of it. I kind of don't know. I don't know. And I mean,
See,
yeah.
I recently learned that, like, because I was like, okay, cool, but they're just doing it to, kind of get in that, like, nostalgia. But I learned that Hugh Jackman actually approached Ryan Reynolds about it.
Interesting.
So it's like he wanted to bring the character back, which I think, yeah, is very, like, I wouldn't have suspected that to be the way that things are.
Yeah. I don't know. The nostalgia casting is a little exhausting to me as well. Like, I don't know. We got Michael Keaton in The Flash apparently, and we had Spider-Man into the No Way verse. I don't know. It's all quite tiring. I don't know, man. I'll take that cue as we're ready to move on. We got a teaser for HBO's Velma that a lot of people have some strong opinions on. This was something I bring this up mostly because I feel like the state of animation at HBO is kind of a weird thing, of course, and it's going to be important to discuss what actually does make it to air, which includes this. What's our temperature check on this trailer?
Looks terrible.
Yeah.
See, there was that first teaser image of Velma happening upon a bored body, and I was like, you know what? Like, with blood everywhere. And I was like, I'm kind of about it. I like the idea of, like, a bloody procedural through a Velma lens. Sure, sounds fun. This teaser seemed to really love the smell of its own farts in a way I was not crazy about.
Yeah. I just hate how the teaser basically built itself on the idea that no one's gonna like the teaser.
Yeah.
Because it was like, oh, Judy Jetson, and it's like, there wasn't anything about actually Velma or what the show was about. It was just kind of like, hey, we look at this, you guys don't like this, and we're doing it anyway.
And like,
it's just like she.
I was gonna say, like, the whole culture of preempting what people aren't gonna like is so fucking exhausting. Not great. What I think is a shame is that I don't like. I think animation-wise, for like, because like, when you get like adult animated sitcom, there's not usually very impressive art, but this looks like well shaded and interestingly boarded, and not like, oh, we're gonna zoom in on a headshot of these characters as they talk back and forth. Like, I think there's artistic quality to it, but the script isn't very good, and it doesn't help that we got this teaser and 3 atrocious drawings of the supporting cast.
Yeah.
Like, it's a baffling, like, because we see the teaser looks okay, then we get an announcement that I think it's Constance Wu is Daphne, Sam Richardson is playing Norville, and Glenn Howerton is Fred. And we get 3 drawings of those characters that don't even look like they're in the same art style or show. It's so... and I don't think they're gonna look that bad in the show, but you put together like 3 weird disparate pieces of concept art, it looks like, to get people into it. Of course they look bad. You just have like the worst possible drawings for them, honestly.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. None of them really look like truly great.
Oh.
Nope.
And so, I don't know. I guess we'll see. I wonder if we're still going to get that Gremlins cartoon on HBO as well, or if that's been gutted. I guess we'll have to see. All right. Well, okay. Time for the big bummer of the news cycle. Let's talk about Helena Taylor and Bayonetta 3.
Yeah, I'm so glad. You know what? Props to her for making it impossible for any voice actor to actually like have a conversation about how they can be paid.
It is.
Yep.
Really, really just like awesome job on that. That's like such a silly, like such a profoundly dumb example of like career suicide. Because like there's no way that you're not gonna get like caught lying.
It's so bizarre.
Right.
Well, yeah, what the fuck was she thinking? Man, so I guess for the uninitiated, let's start at the beginning. We're like 2 weeks out from Bayonetta 3 releasing when this occurred, and Helena Taylor puts on her webcam and says, I didn't return.
And you have to say, who is Helena Taylor?
The voice of Bayonetta, thank you. And she says, I did not return because I was only offered $4,000. And she's like, I really ask that if, you boycott this game, if you believe in workers' rights and voice actors, all that jazz, all that good stuff. And a lot of people were heavily impacted. Like a lot, it was a weird disconnect because a lot of content creators I saw felt very torn, and a lot of people were like, yeah, I might just have to boycott. I'm not sure. If you looked at the Bayonetta subreddit, people were like, that sucks, I'm still gonna play it, which I thought was like, I don't know. I personally walked to GameStop and canceled my pre-order, and then more happened. It was around this point that Jason Schreier launched an investigation, and I didn't know much about Schreier before this, but as far as I can tell, he's always been on the side of the worker. He's basically responsible for a lot of the developments of crunch we're finding out about and workers' rights. And he found that Helena had at the very least stretched the truth. That she was offered arguably not as much as she deserved, but much more than she insisted. Something to the tune of like 15 to 20,000 for over a few sessions. So Helena's reaction, and he could not directly show his source because it's burning an illegal document. He kind of just had to call in a favor. And Helena basically said, I didn't lie. Here's everything I just happened to not mention.
Yeah.
So, as far as I can tell, and she speaks in a very manipulative manner, unfortunately. As far as I can tell, she was initially offered that 15 to 20 or so. What was so damn funny to me, a little bit, in an upsetting way, is that she said something, it was like, Jason Schreier said, like, Helena asked for 6 figures. And Helena was like, I didn't ask for 250,000. Like,
I don't know what you could be talking about.
Sorry.
I was just joking. She's like, I don't know what you could be talking about with this very specific amount of money.
Yeah. Man. So, and as far as I can recollect, after she turned down the role, they still came to her and said, if you still want to be in the game as like a legacy cameo, for a small thing, we'll still give you 4,000. So with that in mind, she was technically telling the truth in a horribly manipulative and deceptive manner.
Yep.
Oh, so...
it doesn't end there.
Oh, yes, go on.
Because the other day, she finally decided to post, like, because you know how she said she'd rather people donate to charity instead of buying the game? She posted a list of charities that she recommends people donate to, and one of them is essentially an anti-trans fundamentalist organization that puts all of its money into billboards.
Jesus.
And pro-life as well, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's awful.
And
yeah, that's I feel like Bra Moment doesn't even cover it. That is just like, what the hell?
And like a lot of and Will can attest to how babyish I was being, because I veered a little selfish here and there in deliberating over, because Bayonetta 3 was the game I was anticipating more than any other, and it's out yesterday, and I'm not playing because I acted a little too soon, perhaps. But it's what I thought was right at the time. People were kind of digging through her likes and finding that she seems against to be very Trumpy and non-trans and all that, and Blue Lives Matter. And like, when you're, it's important we stick to our guns no matter how shitty the person is, as long as they're telling the truth. Like, I do want to say, if Helena Taylor was being ripped off, which she wasn't, I guess I'm trying to say her proclivities in that regard shouldn't dismiss the conversation for voice actors. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
there's going to be people you're unionizing with that you don't agree with. And I kind of clung to, maybe I can still buy the game after all because she sucks. And that was immature of me, as I wanted to be transparent because I had that conversation with Will and I didn't want to posture a certain way. But the more comes out, the less sympathy I truly have for her. She didn't, she didn't deserve it in the first place. She fucking lied. And, you can't even really give the benefit of maybe she stretched the truth to make it easier for voice actors to have that conversation, because now people are going to take them less seriously. So she actively...
Yeah, because everyone's going to be like, oh, this is Helena Taylor situation.
Yeah, exactly. Props to the voice of Viola for immediately after that doing a charity stream in favor of trans youth, I believe.
Oh, that is nice.
Felt very pointed in a way that Helena Taylor deserved. And then poor Jennifer Hale.
Yeah, Jesus.
First of all, she does a great job. Because the first time I saw the Bayonetta 3 trailer, I thought nothing of the voice. And I saw people being like, I don't like the new voice. And that's how I found out it was a new voice. So she's doing great. And she probably had to put up with so much bullshit. So I guess we're at a point now that I guess I'll go pick up a copy of Bayonetta 3 and we'll just pretend this didn't happen. But, I guess a lesson is learned in being mindful of what you consume. Maybe this was a practice run for a worse thing that really will happen at some point.
Oh, yeah, that's a fun way of putting it.
That was pretty... Yeah, well... I guess, also worth noting, Kamiya was being kind of a man baby.
He was like... I genuinely don't understand why he was acting the way he was.
Yeah, well, it's like now that it turns out, he said she was lying and he handled it in his Twitter persona way, and it's like, so that makes you seem really defensive, and you could have, now that we know the details, you could have handled this differently.
He could have said nothing.
Yeah!
It would have been better.
Honestly, hello, yeah. Oh well, it is what it is. And this seems like old news by now because we only record once a month. But let's offset all of that. It was cute that we got a Mario movie trailer.
Oh yeah.
No voice acting dispute in that one.
Yeah. I think we really are getting Super Mario in real life.
Yeah.
Chris Pratt going spaghetti. Jack Black is amazing. I almost said he looks amazing as Bowser, as if that was just him. Yeah,
yeah, they like CGI'd him in.
He's wonderful though. I think he's gonna do an amazing job. Mario on the other hand.
Yeah.
Mario.
Mushroom Kingdom, here we come. I think this will be kind of fun. It seems like they're working with, this could have been a trailer with, I don't know, Uptown Funk, first thing, needle drop.
Wake up in the morning feeling like Pete did.
And then Diddy Kong cameos. It'd be great. It writes itself. The kids love it.
I think this will probably be, it could very well be Illumination's best movie, which means it will be okay.
Yeah.
I was impressed by Keegan-Michael Key's take on Toad, because I thought maybe he would just open his mouth and it's Keegan-Michael Key, but he seems to actually be going for a character. He does a kind of a fun job with the little we observed.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy that he's actually putting on a voice. I was worried that the joke of Toad was gonna be that he's this little guy, but he sounds like
Keegan-Michael Key.
Yeah.
Like Wendell from Wendell Wild on Netflix now. I'm a little concerned we didn't get to see Peach, because I really like Anya Taylor-Joy and don't want her to get cyberbullied if she maybe isn't the right choice for this, which I feel like maybe she's not, but I guess we'll see. Charlie Day's Luigi, we got a tiny glimpse of. That's gonna be great. I don't even have a doubt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's gonna be wonderful. It's a nice trailer. We got Bowser taking on those penguins. I kind of smile every time I see that in the theater recently. Getting pelted with snowball. It's fun.
You like those penguins?
I like penguins.
Knew it.
I have this weird... Do you think they're gonna, deep cut one of the really strange Mario memes for this? Like, are we gonna get like a Mario pissing needle drop at some point?
Oh, Jesus.
I feel like with the Sonic movies, they both kind of blew their load in both movies in putting a meme in like the first 10 minutes of each.
Like Sanic.
Yeah, Sanic or I Can Show You the Way. I feel like Mario could really knock it out of the park if they wait for like an hour and 15 minutes in and just have Luigi turn to Mario for whatever. Maybe they're looking at cheaps, and Luigi turns to Mario and just kind of, just appropriately enough, goes, fish!
Oh, yeah. I feel like they're gonna do a Luigi wins by doing nothing. Like, they're gonna go in a castle and they're like, Luigi's gonna set up all these traps, but he'll stay still. And then Mario's gonna be like, Luigi, you won by doing absolutely nothing.
I think if anything, they're gonna do like Mario's gonna do one of the YouTube thumbnail poses.
Oh, yeah. Maybe.
Like with his like hand in his his head in his hand.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, well, we'll see how this goes. It honestly looks almost like a more earnest adaptation than Sonic is in some aspects. But we'll see if Chris Pratt manages to stink it up the more we see of him. I guess we've also still got Seth Rogen Donkey Kong to take a temperature on. I don't know.
Oh, that is true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect casting. That's cinema right there.
Yeah. Well, those are the big bullet points I had. I guess there's one other thing I could bring up, but I guess I'll check in with you guys. Is there anything you would feel like we could talk about?
Not that I can think of. What about you, Davey?
No, I can't think of anything.
Well, I also, Dav, you pointed this out to me. Henry Cavill is stepping down as Geralt of Rivia.
Oh yeah, which
Geralt of Rivia.
We know why that might be.
Why might that be?
I was gonna say a lot of people are saying it's because he's Superman now.
Tommy, choose your next words carefully.
There's never been so much fear in this world. Let's talk, Black Adam.
God. I think it might have been Spider-Man.
Do you think it's clear we actually really do like Black Adam, Will? Or is this coming off as a bit?
I think it's coming off as a bit.
I want to make it so clear that I earnestly enjoyed Black Adam. I'm going to talk about it in my Little Things video in January, and I don't want people to think it's a bit for a second. I loved that fucking movie. If it's wrong to enjoy Black Adam sticking a grenades in a dude's mouth, I don't want to be right.
Ripping someone in half.
Yes!
Yeah, I love how he PG-13s people to death.
They pull it off pretty well. Anyway.
They really do. Anyways, yeah.
Man. All right, well. I'm going to go watch Black Adam a second time. I've been Tommy.
I am going to, oh, shit. Well, I can't use that one. I'm gonna go watch Black Adam a third time, and I
there
will.
You go.
And I am getting ready to drive over to Tommy's place and plant a bomb in his oven.
He plants it in my mouth like Black Adam.
You know what? Now you're getting one in your toilet.
Nice.